The reviews are in for Resident Evil Requiem, and critics love it! The 9th main entry in Capcom's long-running survival horror series is sitting at 88 on Metacritic, and OpenCritic at the time of writing, which is the highest score for a mainline entry in the last 2 decades.
Yeah, it gets a little weird. I think we could probably just say highest ever in a mainline Resident Evil, because there's some weird technicalities, some really old games that have kind of abnormally high scores. Doesn't matter. Everyone loves it. It's really good. That's where we're at right now.
That's right. Welcome to Inside Games Daily. We're talking about Resident Evil Requiem and all the review scores that are coming in. It's looking like everybody's happy, and that's very, very exciting.
Yeah. Critics almost universally agree that Resident Evil Requiem is a high mark for the franchise, potentially the highest, as we alluded to.
Yeah, like we mentioned, it's kind of sort of got the highest Metacritic of any mainline Resident Evil game. 1999's Resident Evil 3 Nemesis technically has a 91 aggregate score, whatever. But that's a 27-year-old game. The aggregate's based on 19 reviews that don't even link to live reviews. This is a little different now.
Yeah, it's a little reviewing archaeology there. Also, standards were a bit different back in 99. We'll say that. Yeah, it's the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 4 also both have slightly higher review scores at 91 and 93 respectively.
But those are the remakes. Mm-hmm. Those aren't the main lines.
That's true.
And review scores tend to settle out a bit lower over time than they are on launch day. Whether or not this is officially the best reviewed Resident Evil is kind of up to you, I guess. Because it could lower, I guess, a little bit from 88.
It might drop off a few points. That's typically how it goes. Okay. Yeah. But records notwithstanding, I think it is probably. But records notwithstanding, critical consensus says that Resident Evil Requiem expertly mixes styles from the franchise's long run into a cumulative experience that represents the series' best.
Game Informer awarded the game a nearly perfect 9.75, writing that the, quote, duality of the word Requiem here speaks to Capcom's success and the ways in which Resident Evil is finally harmonizing the disparate parts of its past to create a perfectly refined melody. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of words.
Very artistic flourish there. I love the reviews that feel like they were written on parchment with an ink and quill. Yeah, really spitting fire on that one. Eurogamer is even more enthralled with the game, giving it a perfect 5 out of 5 stars. And Eurogamer, they're pretty harsh reviewers most of the time.
Yeah, they generally are. They write that, quote, Capcom's deliberate and impressively cohesive grab bag approach to Requiem almost makes it impervious to criticism. And you might as well just sit back and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, most of the best Resident Evils are like that. Like fun zero IQ experiences. But they also note, and this is kind of an interesting trend that we noticed across reviews, that the game is it's kind of divided into 2 experiences. You got your first half and your back half.
Yeah, the first is more traditional. Eurogamer's reviewer calling it, quote, a straight up horror classic, as far as I'm concerned. And I would assume that's the Grace section, right?
Yeah, well, it kind of alternates between Grace and Leon, but yeah, I think they're mostly talking about Grace there. We've only played it in previews, so we just kind of have to extrapolate from what we saw into these reviews, but that seems like it. This back half section, they kind of alluded to it in the reveal of Leon's Porsche, I guess. you go back to a Raccoon City. It's a bombed out Raccoon City, and that seems to be maybe the second half of the game. And reviewers talk about that being a little more kind of backward looking, a little more fan servicey. Apparently this back half is not quite as like universally loved. It's not as easy to praise. It's a little more complicated, and it might rely on your experience with the series.
Interesting. Reviewer Hayes Madsen, who gave the game an 8 out of 10 for console creatures, singled out this divergence in a Blue Sky post, writing that, quote, the embargo was extremely restrictive to the point that my real issues, most of which are in the second half, I just straight up couldn't talk about.
It's really interesting. I wanna think about that for. We'll cover some more of the reviews here, but. IGN gave the game a 9 out of 10, it's a golden 9 out of 10 from IGN, celebrating that, quote, Resident Evil Requiem successfully splices 2 separate strains of survival horror together into the one highly infectious new mutation. Again, with the quill.
Oh, fun. Yeah. The review elegantly summarizes the game's experience, saying, quote, Resident Evil Requiem kept me completely absorbed and consistently entertained, whether it was all hair-raising or all guns blazing. That's exactly what I want, by the way. Because I from what we know, like Lawrence said from the previews, I got to play a little bit of Grace, and then Lawrence got to play a little bit of Leon, and I want both. That's exactly what I want in a Resident Evil game. I want a little bit of horror, and I want a little bit of guns blazing, cool mutant powers, shooting shotguns and stuff. I mean, like that's I feel like that's the Resident Evil experience. So I'm excited to try this, and I really hope that it's paced well. If Village is any indication, the pacing of Village, I will say, I've said it a bunch, but it's one of my favorite single-player video games. I feel like the pacing is almost perfect for a video game. So if Requiem continues that trend, I'm in.
Yes, I agree. I think we've seen over successive Resident Evil games, even going back to 6, which I'm a huge fan of. Some people aren't, but Capcom has clearly gotten better and better and better at refining and iterating on this idea. And I think it's just brilliant, the fact that they have... Every character, if they live long enough in the Resident Evil universe, becomes superpowered. It's like a Fast and Furious thing, where you start off racing cars and before long you're like punching down mountains and stuff. So they're so smart in sort of making that explicit in its two main characters. You got Leon, who's an old head in Resident Evil. He's doing all of his Tom Cruise Mission Impossible 2 flip kicks and spouting one-liners. He's the action hero. He's invincible. He can still get his head chopped off, but yeah, that's his role. Whereas Grace is sort of the Ethan from Biohazard, a new character who's scared and vulnerable and lonely. And so to sort of associate the two halves of Resident Evil with these two characters, it just makes all the sense in the world. I feel like there aren't that many times where you have a narrative structure that slips in so perfectly with not only a game's playstyle, but its history as a franchise.
Man, it is really exciting to report positive news for once in the video game world. I know I've seen a lot of not a lot. I've seen a few comments that say like, "You guys never report on positive news." Well, here you go. This is it. Resident Evil, Capcom just knocking out of the park. I was thinking about Capcom's run recently in the last few years. I mean, pretty amazing video games they've come out with in the last. We got Dragon's Dogma 2. I was just like so many that I could keep referring back to and be like, man, I can't believe how good that game was.
Yeah, Street Fighter 6, Monster Hunter, I guess the last one people weren't super big on.
They've been improving it. So,
but I agree. I mean, not to get into too macro trends with game dev, but it really feels like the studios, and in this case I specifically mean non-North American studios, that didn't scale as hard and fast as they could, like EA or Ubisoft, or, well, I guess Activision's doing all right, but those studios seem now to be doing great because they've got their tech, they have their engine, it's really solid, it produces amazing results, and they can still find room in their budget to let their developers make new ideas too. Things like Pragmata, which is coming up, but you also had Kunitsugami, you had Exoprimal. People are, in my opinion, a little frustratingly willing to look over those or ignore them. But it's one of the few studios out there that can not only just kill their big franchises, and I mean that positively, kill respectfully, but also still make original ideas that are equally well executed. And they got Onimusha coming up. So yeah, they got a crazy year in front of them, and they've had just 5 years of amazing games behind them. Capcom is back. They said that in like 2019.
Yeah, they've been back for years.
They were right. I've seen developers say that before, but they really figured something out.
Yeah.
In like around 2019 era, when RE2 Remake came out.
Oh yeah.
That was like the big game. It was like, holy shit. They just made an incredible game, remade one of the best games of all time. And they've just been murdering the game since then. So, and it's all culminating in this. They're getting better and better and somehow shipping more games. So it's, yeah, like you said, Bruce, it's good news and we ought to celebrate it. Hats off to you, Capcom.
Yeah, it's true. It really, honestly, that is one thing that I don't need to tell you this, but we say a lot, vote with your wallet. And I'm always like, don't spend money on, whoever you hate, EA, Ubisoft, whatever. But if you love them, then you give them your money. And Resident Evil, it looks like, may have earned that. So thank you very much for watching Inside Games today. We love you guys about as much as we love Resident Evil, which is a lot. I have really fallen in love with the Resident Evil franchise in the last 2-3 years. I've started to play all of them now, and I'm very excited. Lawrence has been loving Resident Evil for 20 years.
Oh yeah. Oh man. They all have something special to offer. To me, there's something magical when I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. Like some pop culture phenomenon goes to Japan and they do their version of it. So it began as it's Night of the Living Dead. It started with George Romero. And then by Resident Evil 6, it became the ridiculous big budget blockbuster Avatar experience. Then they whittled it back down, but they still have all that DNA in the franchise. It covers the real spectrum of horror action gaming. And every entry offers something unique and fun. And it seems like not only does Requiem do that, but it also kind of pulls everything in on top of it. So it's beautiful. But yes, thanks. Like Bruce said, thank you for watching Inside Games. We have a Patreon if you want to check that out. We post every episode we do there. We post a free meme too, so enjoy your memes. There's some folks that support us via our Patreons. We're going to shout them out right now. Thank you very much, Redden003, Zach DeHack, Spinkerton, Fogendogen, Rattlelog, and Keto White for your steadfast support. You are our green herbs.